Hi, this is Quintus Jet, and so today I'm going to talk about state strategies, in particular, an overview of Iowa. All right, what you just saw was an animation of an Iowa Yang treasure map that was done by a Yang supporter, Paul Pierantozzi, who's a recent graduated from college, and um, and basically treasure maps are one of our example of something that Abundance for America is making available to you to be able to understand and see different priorities within your state when the primaries come up. Um, to really understand it, I probably no, maybe I should say that when I first whenever I watch elections, like election results at night after an evening when the results are coming in, if you watch TV like, or cable, you're watching like CNN or MSNBC, they'll have a map. They'll have a map of a state, and basically the news reporters are waiting for the votes to come in for certain parts of the state, and they know that if a candidate's doing well in a certain state, certain area of the state, they're likely to win. So that's really what's going on every time there's an election. That it does vary by geography, like how the performance that you have by a geography can really make a difference and help determine whether or not you win. And so, really, what treasure maps are is a way for those of us, the citizens, the voters, to really be engaged on this issue of geography before the election happens. So basically, instead of so for example, we're gonna talk about Iowa. I'm going to talk about Iowa today, but instead of perhaps maybe waiting to see well how things are going in a particular part of a region of Iowa after an election, imagine if maybe in the weeks beforehand you could actually for yourself have a sense of strategically where are the hot spots to be looking at, where are the spots that are the regions that you want to spend your time looking closer or canvassing. So that's really what treasure maps are set out to do. And so really the whole point of treasure maps in terms of the Democratic primary is that the Democratic primary, we call it like it's a horse race, but really it's a puzzle. So every candidate is trying to do well in every single state, and they're trying to do well within states. So let me go back and show you what I mean. So this is the Iowa treasure map, the Yang Iowa treasure map. Um, Treasure maps were came about through a collaboration that I have with a Yang supporter named Rachel Yuen from Washington State. We're both. She's a data analyst and I'm a strategist, and we were talking about the importance of being able to see where the campaign and the grassroots, where we should be spending our time within the state in order to get Andrew Yang elected, in order for him to get as many votes as we can throughout a state and as many delegates. And so what we did is we began with Iowa, and what you're looking at is our first treasure map. Our first treasure map was done in early November, and it was of Iowa because it's the first primary state. And when you look at, we did is there are about 99 counties in Iowa, And so you're looking at them right now. And so if you want to look at all these different counties, there's a lot of different characteristics or attributes for these counties. So from a election standpoint, certain things you might want to know just about each county. Like you probably want to prioritize them based on a few things like, well, maybe population, like how populous is the county, right? Because if there's more people in a county, well, that's where the votes are might like to be, the biggest concentrations. Um, if you're going to take into account that it's a Democratic primary and that most Democratic primary voters, at least nationally, will tend to be, there's a large proportion that are of color, that is non-white, that is first and second generation American. Well, you probably want to know something about that within the state as well. And then maybe you might also want to be concerned about transit, like what's the access of a county to be reached by other counties, like through the highway system. And so what Rachel and I did is we looked at these factors and we combined them together and we evaluated the counties, their respective characteristics, and we came up with a classification scheme, YANG. Now, I wouldn't exactly call these priorities. I think these are more like the kinds of strategies that we might want to emphasize because every county is important. You really want to, a good measure of success of a campaign is probably the more that that your supporters, your movement, your emphasis as a campaign is reaching the different corners of a state and successfully, generating interest and turnout, the better you will do. So that's the point. So there are really four categories here: Y, A, N, and G. Y stands for yes, we absolutely need Yang votes here. So when you see certain counties here, like Polk County, Scott County, Woodbury County, these are counties which are, relatively speaking, within the state, have high populations. They tend to have a greater, relatively speaking, more diversity in terms of non-whites and or of or immigrant populations of citizens, and as well as being very well networked within the highway system. So why counties are places that are promising places to be. In fact, they're probably so significant that it's a place where there should be a presence, there should be a field office, there should be an organizations of grassroots people there. And in most cases, that naturally is happening. So again, that's what a Y county is. An A county stands for Add Yang Voter Outreach and Inclusion Here. So these counties may not necessarily be as large as the other counties, as the Y counties. They may not be as necessarily well connected within the highway system of the state. However, there is, relatively speaking, still some diversity. There might be a relatively high number within the state of African Americans or Native Americans or Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, or of recent immigration groups within that state. So A is almost like you might think of as outreach. It's like we absolutely don't need to be there, but these are counties that are still pretty strategically significant and where there should be some emphasis given. N stands for never forget to remind voters about Yang here. So what does that mean? That means that if there's if there's not an outpost or a campaign office, don't worry, that's fine. But just let's come up with plans at times to go and sort of reinforce, the Yang message, like through billboards or some other means, because an N county is a county that even if it's not populous or not necessarily diverse, these are counties that see lots of traffic for some, lots of land traffic. And G is what you might call is mostly what you call a rural county. So they may not necessarily be as big. They may not be as connected to the highway system. They may not necessarily be all that diverse either. But but every state has rural counties. Um, uh, Actually, a lot of states tend to have quite a few of them, and so G stands for Go Show Voters Some Yang Gang Love Here. So that means that there are plenty. I've seen the data from people I've met. There are plenty of Yang supporters who live in G counties, and so, like I said, your county is important, whatever you live in, whether it's a Y, A, N, or G. It's just a matter of maybe the strategy and the expectations that you have will be a little bit different depending on what category it is. But so if you're in a G county, great. Understand it's a rural county. Just do what you can. Um, or if you are not from a G county or you see a G county, the thinking that we should all have as Yang supporters is let's go help them out. Let's do an event. Let's do things. Let's show some Land Gang love there to help activate them for the upcoming primaries. So basically the Rachel and I have created these maps. And we created them. Their intellectual property is Newark Provisions, based in Newark, New Jersey. And what we've done is we've given use to Abundance for America to be able to distribute this. So what you're looking at here is a handout version that can be downloaded, or you can print out, or we've done printouts to circulate. So again, this is what these maps are. At this point, there are treasure maps for every single state, and we typically break them down by regions, by counties, but then counties for each region. So now that I've kind of at least given like a quick overview of a treasure map, and Iowa's in particular, and you can see in different colors there are different regions. So this is an Iowa treasure map, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and show you the animation. So again, this is the treasure map, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the animation in which I began with. Here we go. See, northwest region of Iowa, and just you look, you can see like certain places like Plymouth, which is right across, like Sioux City is in Plymouth, right on the border of northern Nebraska. Region north central Iowa, Minnesota just to the north. You notice we actually have a county here that's a Y county. Central Iowa. So we have things like Des Moines and Polk County, and I think Ames is in Story County. So you notice you have Y counties. We have A counties, so counties that are A, Webster, Marshall, Tama, that we would expect to should be targets for outreach. And then we have N counties like Boone, Hamilton, Hardin, Jasper. We have counties that actually should be relatively easily to access in some form because of the highways that cross through them. And then we have a rural county. We got to show them to Grundy County. We got to show that county some love. Yang Gang love. So in summary, what this means is there is a Yang treasure map at this point for every single state and for Puerto Rico. So, and so when you get that, when you retrieve your Yang Gang map, when you get it, you should expect to see, um, how should I put it? You will receive, each one will have some combination of Y, A, N, or G attached to them. And so, and where you can get that is going to be, you can go to our website at abundanceforamerica.com. And when you see it, there'll be a place for you to sign up. So if we want to, let me show you right quick. All right, so this is the page. So if you go to Abundance for America, there's a tab for Yang Maps, and this explains sort of the background behind this, because the whole point is for all of us as Yang supporters to participate in the puzzle, right? I mean, typically it's always a campaign headquarters and maybe a bunch of strategists somewhere that are looking and paying attention to what's going on geographically in terms of getting out the vote. But what we're doing is by having these maps available for every single state in Puerto Rico, that gives us, the Yang Nation, an opportunity within our own states, within our own counties, to be able to be involved in strategically and have a sense of what is going on where, like in terms of our own county, in terms of adjacent counties within our state or within other states. And if you go to go to our website, you can register for the treasure maps right here. Click here, and it's going to ask you for your email address and zip code, and so it can be made available to you. And as this is a bonus, we have on the site the Georgia treasure map. So just so you know that again, I focused on Iowa, but we have every single state you can think of, and actually it's marvelous to see, having the one who's seen and been a part of all of them. I mean, um, so yeah, if North Dakota, we see you. Idaho, we see you. Kansas, we see you. Alabama, we see you. Because that's the thing, for a primary, it all matters. It doesn't matter for a Democratic primary. It doesn't matter whether you're a red state, blue state, or purple state. You have Democratic votes there that are being part of the delegate count that's determining the nominee. So all over America, you are important. And for this primary, if you participate in this for the Democratic primary, and that includes U.S. territories like Puerto Rico. This includes D.C., and it even includes Americans abroad, they're Democrats abroad. So that's my overview of the state strategy using treasure maps. And so I think next time I will focus in particular on Iowa again, but from perspective of where the campaign and Yang Gang, where we are and where we are not, and where maybe we should be within Iowa, which counties, given that we are about 10 days away from the Iowa caucus happening. So with that, until next time.